Hey, how are we doing, everyone? Hope we are had a good day. What day is it there? I think it's Tuesday. So thanks for coming on, and I will talk a little bit more about, wow, if you've got some comments about does fear exist, please drop them in the comments. I'll get started in just a bit. So please drop them in the comments if you're watching this on the live, okay? Or on a recording, then just, yeah, feel free, drop in some stuff. And I put a post out yesterday. It had some great feedback. It got you all talking. It got some great conversation going. Hey, Adita, how you doing? Got some great conversation going. And I really, it was great to watch, great to read back through. I come out of it. I was trying to interact with you all, but I thought I'm going to step away and I just see what starts coming up on the whole thing around fear. And I guess at the moment, if you know, it is something that a lot of us, again, we're probably, or many people are kind of feeling that at the moment with so much uncertainty going on. So I hope in this video's there. I want to talk about fear, what I think it is. All right. And what, how to recognize it. And it covers such a big spectrum. It covers such a broad thing, because we got fear of harm, we got fear of maybe what's going on in the world at the moment. Oh, Neil, you just put a comment out, so let's just pop this one up. So it does if you believe what you watch and hear from mainstream media. Yes. Okay. So yeah, again, the media is really having a part to play on our fears at the moment, or for some. Everyone's different, right? Everyone is so different in how this emotion or this feeling, or if it exists or doesn't exist. But I want to talk to you about that as well today, and give my own theories and what I think it is. But again, it's just my opinion. But I really welcome your opinions on this tonight. Okay, we can have a great conversation, and at the end, I do want to give some tips on how we can overcome and deal with like emotions of fear. What things can we do about it? And prevent ourselves becoming more and more stressed out, or however it affects us. Okay, so if you've got your own tips, all right, please put them in the comments as well. So please talk about it, because sometimes I'm always looking for new stuff. And I'll find, oh, that's like this video I watched the other day, which provoked this video I will talk about, and just put that theory out there, because there was an element of it I thought was brilliant. And I think I want to definitely adopt it for things that I'm doing and how I push myself forward in this year, and with everything that is going on at the moment. Okay, so please interact, and we can get some a lot more out of it. So look, there are different types of fears, of course, but it's not different types of fear. It's all what's going on in here. We can have fear of ourselves being harmed. Okay, so if you're gonna, I don't know, do a skydive or a bungee jump, that's pretty scary before it happens. Maybe it might be scary on the way down. I don't remember that part when I did it. I just remember that was sheer fun. But the build up to it, I was a little bit quiet on those days. Of course, there's if we're in apparent danger. So if you've been approached, or it could be in a defensive situation, or a bad relationship that's become abusive, then that's a fear of like harm to ourselves. But we still always have a choice. Okay, and I think that's maybe one thing to take away, is that we do have a choice on fear. We have a choice on how we're going to cope with it. We're going to choose if we're going to run, we're going to fight it, or do something about it and change that environment or whatever it is we're in. So the biggest one I think that we all experience daily is the emotional fear. And it can be something new. It can be that a change is going to happen. It can be also with the uncertainty, and like Neil said, everything that's going on in the media at the moment, around the world at the moment. So and a couple of people put this in the comments in the post I put out yesterday, that it's a primal instinct. So it is our primal instinct, and it is it's designed to protect us. So it's getting us ready to fight or flight, and sometimes freeze as well. And it's an important thing to have, because it, like I said, it protects us. So from a more of a let's say if it was more like you had to defend yourself, it's actually your body where you get that sickening feeling. The blood's just coming away from your tummy a little bit, and we might shake, and your body's just warming you up. So when it happens, actually, in most cases, it means you're ready for that event or that thing that is about to happen. But also that same thing happens. So if I had to go up, or for me, not so bad, but for someone maybe going out to speak to a big group or a large audience for the first time, then the same things happen. We can get a little bit feeling sick, or we maybe get nervous and shake, or our voice starts to quiver. But it's the same thing. It's basically our body is just getting us ready for that. But something also is going on in our head. Now, this is where it changes a little bit. So we start to play, or our imagination starts to play upon our primal instinct. So is our imagination real? So this is where it kind of comes into, does fear exist? Is it real? And we put the acronym of false emotions appearing real. And I quite like that. Generally, fear is a false emotion, and it appears to be real because we create something in our head. We create a scenario, or we can do, and we start to talk ourselves out of certain things, and it can really hold us back. Yes, sometimes it's there. Again, it's there to protect us. You're not going to go up a tall building and maybe climb a building without ropes or something daft like that. I don't know. If you can do that, then I would expect you to have some sort of element of fear in there, or something going over your head. But again, we can still do something about that. So is it real? So basically what happened in this video, I should have wrote down the guy's name. But if you go on YouTube and type in, I think the name of the video was Change the Channel or something like that. Fear Change the Channel. It was a guru from India. And basically this guy came up and asked, and said, I get nervous when I got to talk, or if I'm doing presentations or a speech. And quite simple. So sometimes we got to keep things simple. We love to overthink stuff, and that was quite apparent with the thread yesterday, that we want to overthink it. Even I nearly got drawn into it. I pulled myself out, but we get into overthinking. We want to be so right and correct on it. But sometimes maybe, how about if we just keep things simple? So what he said in the video was, the fear does not exist. It's just something that we have manifested in his, in this instance, in his head. He created a scenario in the future that hadn't happened. So if it's an imagination, and our imagination is just what's in here. So that fear, in reality, then it doesn't exist. Now, we could argue it, but I'm just chucking out a concept that might work or may not work with you, right, for you. And what interesting as well, he said, is that if you can imagine, when we're fearful of something like that, we start to create a horror story, but it's the worst horror story, like a movie, he kind of put it. And in that movie of this horror, it's rubbish. It's a rubbish movie because no one's actually paying to come and see it. So sometimes with things like this, when we have that little paradigm shift in our head, we look at it from a different angle. It can't work. I know it doesn't work for everyone, but give it a go. Try it. Next time you're feeling fearful, say, well, this isn't real because it's not happened. It might happen, but it might not happen. So why don't I use my energy to create the reality that I do want? Because that emotion, your body's warming up. You got emotions going on. So why don't we just use that to create, the outcome that we do want? In some things we can be proactive, and when it's like off the cuff thing, well, yeah, that's when your instinct, and it's a primal instinct, kicks in, and you're either going to run, or you're going to fight, or you're going to freeze up. And even freezing, it's people get, even freezing is to protect you. Your body and your brain switches off. It's to protect you. So you haven't kind of got to go through that terrible thing, but we still can use that experience to our advantage afterwards. Okay. So the instinct, I really like the concept that it doesn't exist. It is literally our imagination. We've created this horror story, and we stay in it. And the thing is, we stay in it for the whole duration, and it is a waste of energy. If I used, even when I took on a business, it was scary. But I think my fear training had changed a lot from when I went to jump out of a plane and did a skydive, whatever. So I started to ask myself questions that were going to empower me. And I used that energy, that nervous energy, rather than sat there worrying about it and thinking about it, is right, well, I'm going to use this energy to be more proactive, be productive. And, what is it I need to do? What if this happens? Okay, well, what happens if it doesn't happen? How about I ask myself some questions to make sure and do the energy and the work so that thing I'm scared of doesn't happen. So what can we do? All right. So a couple of tips, and please, if you've got other tips, because it's all right talking about it, but sometimes, when we get this happening, people can freeze up, and it can, for many, just be, quite crippling, and it then can manifest into other things like depression or anxiety. And of course, definitely with the anxiety, because we're getting anxious about it. So because this energy is happening within us, I feel we really need to get rid of it. So when you start to get in a situation, maybe you're worried about something in the future, or maybe it is you want to start a new project, something brand new, a new direction in career. And for a lot of people at the moment, we're in that situation where life has forced us to have to make some changes. People have lost their jobs. Unfortunately, families may have had to change, circumstances may have to change. And I get that it's fearful. Okay, and it's scary. We got this nervous energy. How are we going to do this? How am I going to? But that's where we can start to ask the questions. But because that energy is there, and it can cripple us, this feeling of fear. So because of the thoughts that we've got going on in our head, remember those thoughts, they're just thoughts. The actual thing does not exist yet. Okay, so the thing that you are worrying about does not exist until it happens. So we can take ourselves out of that. And we're not always in that state of mind. So the concept really is we want to control that state of mind to not be in our heads, in our imagination. Or if we're going to be in our imagination, well, how about we create the future that we want, not the one we're fearful of. All right. So I feel getting rid of this nervous energy, cut the ways you can do it, really. Do them all, pick one, or you might have if you've got a different way, please do that. Please contribute, okay? Because that's really important. I think sometimes, it may just pay just to shout it all out. And there's no harm in that. I'm worried about this. For some people, I've noticed over my time of doing mindset that they can just express out. And there's no harm, there's no shame in it. If you've got someone trusted you can do it with, even better. If you haven't, doesn't matter. Go in a field, do it on your own, and just exhaust out that negative energy, the over, that imagination that is, the future that we think is going to be so bad. Exhaust it out. It might work for you, it may not work for you. Especially if it's like something new, if fear has crippled you so much, then give it a go. Once you train it, though, once you train to deal with fear, it becomes so much easier. Basically, you learn to ask the right questions and use that energy to drive you forward. And I'll give you some examples maybe from last year how that's personally worked for me. So that's one concept, is get out. Really, it's like you need this pattern interrupt. So if we stay in that same state of mind, that's where we're going to be. And actually what will happen is we'll end up making our worst fears happen, because what we're thinking about generally is going to happen. So we got to get this out of our head. We got to get this imagination. Remember, it doesn't exist because it hasn't happened. What you're thinking exists. Of course you exist, but the thing in the future doesn't exist yet. It hasn't happened. So if we can bring ourselves back to where we are, we can start creating a plan of what it is we need to do to overcome whatever it is we need to overcome, whatever it is we're so fearful of. And we've all got it in us because that's part of our primal instinct as well, is to fight and survive. That's what we're here for, and to give life and keep life going. So we've got that same instinct on the other end of the spectrum, or how I feel. So even if it's just getting out, do some exercise, get yourself moving, because motion will always lead to emotion. So if we're not moving, that leads to emotion of just staying still. So just something as simple as that can be enough to change that, give you a pattern interrupt, as I like to call it, and just change that thought process a second so we can take that next step forward. So shout it out if you need to, talk to a friend, get all your fears out. And once that's out, your brain is going to be able to kind of, I'm so tired of that. It's like the chimp part of the brain, right? It's exhausted. And now I can start finding, thinking of actually, what is it I need to go? What is it I need to do? Exercise, get a pattern interrupt. Could be meditating. It could be a little walk, if yoga, martial arts, kickboxing, whatever it is your thing. Go for a run. If you can't do those things, just movement, just to get yourself away. In fact, even taking yourself away from the environment that you're in right there and then, so you can trigger off some other things. Remember, just putting some music on or getting some inspirational stuff coming in through your ears. Once you've done that, I find personally it's a little bit easier to ask myself some questions that force me to find the answers. So rather than worrying about, well, how can I make this work? What is it I need to do right now? What do I need to know? When do I need to do this by? So my energy, rather than stressing about what can go wrong, thinking, what if it doesn't work? What if that happens? What if I change it around and say, well, what if it does work, right? What happens if it does go right? Use that. If you're going to imagine stuff, well, we might as well sit and imagine it going completely right. And you've got more, and in the way that you want it to go, and you've got much more of a chance of that happening. Our thoughts become our actions, or our reality, should I say. Fear, does it exist? Well, I feel like, let's come on to that in a bit, but remember, the energy on fear, it can be wasted, and it doesn't exist yet. It's something that doesn't exist. It's something that's in our head. It's something, an imagination, a reality we've created, within our own minds. So let's, why live in that? Why live in that reality? Why don't we live in the one where we're actually, if it was going to speak up on a stage or something, well, imagine it going right, and start training yourself. But of course, we got to have that pattern interrupt first. We got to be able to take ourselves away from that environment and just start changing our thought processes. Yes, the media is saying stuff, but we've got a choice on whether we're going to allow that to define us. We have that choice. Last year, when the first lockdown came, and of course it went through my head. Oh my gosh, how are we going to survive? How is the business going to survive? It was a martial arts fitness studio, so how is that going to survive? But then I took myself away, had my little rant for about 2 seconds, might even did it on social media, but who cares? And I started to think about, well, how can I provide a service now? How can I, get myself through this part? What do I need to do? And then straight away, that became action, and we got momentum, and we solved a lot of problems very quickly, for ourselves and for our clients. So we were pretty much, in fact, we went online with it even before the lockdown had happened, because we were proactive in there. So when those fears come in, think of, well, how can I make it work? Have that pattern interrupt, like I said, get that emotion out, get the nervous energy out. Right now, you've got you're more level-headed to, think of the action that you need to take to not let that fear, that imagination, which doesn't exist yet, to become a reality. And if it's just with media, where sometimes we can control what's coming in. So if you feel like you're affected by a lot of negativity, thoughts and things being said, you've got full control. You can switch the news off. You can change the channel. You can set on your news feed, or if it's on Facebook, what it is going to come on there. You don't have to unfollow people if you don't want to, or you can if you want to. We are in full control. We have a choice. We have a decision. We can choose if we are going to feel that way, or we're going to, work towards doing something that is more for us and us to feel empowered. So create the reality that you want. All right. And think, what if it goes right? So the conclusion really is fear. It's both instinct. Okay. Fear is instinct. It's an instinctual part of us that is ingrained, you know, on the day we were born, and it also doesn't exist in many forms, in that it's a reality that we create in our head, and our imagination does not exist. It might exist later on, but at the time of you feeling it, no, it does not exist. It's just there. That's how I feel, and what I got up from, you know, watching this this video over the weekend. So how do you feel about that? Has it helped? I hope so. But think, you know, if there's things that you're fearful of at the moment, right, what can I do? Get that pattern interrupt first of all. And what if it can go right? What can I do? What can I change? You know, if you're on a lockdown, we're on a lockdown, it's perfect time to learn stuff anyway. So perfect time to, you know, almost retrain yourself. And you can. I used to be quite a nervous person. There was no way I would be able to stand up on a stage or talk to groups of people. I remember my best mate got married. I think it was 2004. He was his best man. I was so nervous about making a speech. A year later, I became an instructor. So something had changed, and now it's not a problem. I just go out and talk, put a camera on. I don't care. It doesn't matter. Nothing can go wrong. The only thing that can go wrong now, say, is I'll have a power cut, and you'll all be left. What was he going to say? Fear is instinct. All right, it's part of our primal instinct, but it is also plays a lot on our imagination, and we manifest that to be much worse than what it is. Right, I finally got on Clubhouse. It's only taken me about 2 weeks to get on there. If you know what Clubhouse is, get the app. I'll be doing a session this Friday with Ben Taggart. I chatted with Ben on Sunday. So if you're interested, I think my link, whatever, follow me on Clubhouse anyway. We'll be doing creating a room on Friday at some point. I'll drop more about it out tomorrow on my Facebook and all the other social media platforms. Guys, thanks for watching. Hope you got something from it. Hope it's helped. Okay, so just to recap, is literally fear is our primal instinct. Okay, it's designed to keep us safe. However, we manifest it into so many other things, and it starts to play in our mind. It becomes our imagination, and what we imagine isn't reality yet. It doesn't exist. So we can control that. We are 90%. If we can condition ourselves to think, I can control 90% of my life, 10% we can't. You know, we have no control on, you know, this virus, right? But look what's happening as a world. We are trying to control that. We are trying to, you know, sort that out, because the right questions were asked, as in, well, how do we do this, rather than, you know, playing on that fearful, you know, energy that was within us. All right, peace, love. Have a great evening and a great rest of the week. Hopefully see you guys on the Clubhouse on Friday, and I'll drop a time near the time. Yay! As soon as it ends.